This is the story of Paul Horn and Lama Tenzin and their journey to the roof of the world. Paul Horn, the world-renowned flutist, had a dream to play inside the Potala Palace and the sacred temples of Tibet. Lama Tenzin was attempting to return to Tibet after an absence of nearly 40 years to reunite with his family and homeland. Paul played in the Grand Assembly Hall. This is the largest and most magnificent hall in the Potala, the place where the Dalai Lamas once received the state oracles in the main prayer hall. Lama Tenzin's long-awaited dream of seeing his family and visiting his home is realized. The joy from this reunion is clearly visible on his face.
Four religions and millions of people consider Tibet's Mount Kailash the most sacred place in the world, yet few Westerners are aware of its existence. Filmmaker Tom Vendetti traveled to the remote site to document the pilgrimage of Flutist Paul Horn.
Standing like a great monument in the sky, Mount Kailash is a reminder to the world of the importance of spirituality for complete balance to one's life.
Mount Kailash, returned to Tibet, follows Horn on his long and dusty journey from Kathmandu, Nepal, across the Tibetan plateau to the remote Mount Kailash area. Vendetti uses images of Kailash's windswept peak to convey the spiritual power of the location. Horn's music sets the tone.
Sera Monastery was founded in 1419. At one time, it was one of the most populated monasteries. Now it is home to several hundred monks. The hand claps emphasize the challenger's position. The focus of the debates is on man's suffering from the wrong thinking originating from ignorance, desire, and hatred. I am reminded of my own inner debate when we first heard Mount Kailash was closed, and then the decision to show up anyway. A trip to the Yarlung Valley is planned to help acclimatize to the high elevation. It's about 11,000 feet. The valley is said to be the cradle of the Tibetan race, and it's full of Tibetan history and legends. The Yumbu Lagang Palace is one of the oldest structures in Tibet, originating around the 7th century. Strings of prayer flags brightly mark this special site. They are stamped with prayers, and as they flutter in the wind, it is believed that the prayers are released into the air and carried to the heavens to appease the gods and to purify the air. Now, when you get out into the rural areas of Tibet and the Tibetan Plateau, you see more honest conversation. People are smiling, a lot of laughter, people are taking time to talk to each other and walk around. It's magnified tenfold because there, the people really need each other, and they're really together. You see the yaks, which are the work animals, pulling the plows and people just trying to get something out of that arid land to grow.
This is an extraordinary story of Paul Horn's and Lama Tenzin's journey inside Tibet. Paul Horn, world-renowned flutist, wanted to be the first Westerner to record music in the Potala Palace. And Lama Tenzin, a Buddhist monk, wished to reunite with his family and his homeland, which he left nearly 40 years ago. Their story begins in Kathmandu, Nepal, and ends in Lhasa, Tibet. Here's their journey. This is the story of Paul Horn and Lama Tenzin and their journey to the roof of the world. Paul Horn, the world-renowned flutist, had a dream to play inside the Potala Palace and the sacred temples of Tibet. Lama Tenzin was attempting to return to Tibet after an absence of nearly 40 years to reunite with his family and homeland. The word Lama is a Tibetan Buddhist title, rarely bestowed, that means master or teacher. The sign indicates that the workers in the carpet factory are refugees. During Paul and Lama's stay in Kathmandu, they met with many people in preparation for their trip. It included these refugees and others with the hope of obtaining information about crossing the border into Tibet. Some were skeptical of what Paul and Lama were attempting to achieve. They felt that their adventure was dangerous and that great care must be taken. Months of preparation had been put into creating this pilgrimage, but still there were many unanswered questions. Would the border between Nepal and Tibet be open? The border is often closed for weeks at a time due to bad conditions, either political or natural. Rumors of dangerous road conditions abounded. It was said the Chinese were tunneling through a glacier blocking the road to Lhasa. After all these years, would Lama Tenzin be allowed to enter Tibet and receive formal permission to see his family? Would Paul Horn obtain permission to play within the sacred walls of the Potala Palace? Most said it would be impossible. Talking with Tibetan refugees and watching them make their fabulous carpets was a profound experience. Prayer ceremonies were recorded in Kathmandu. These prayers brought everything into perspective, centering Lama Tenzin and Paul Horn emotionally, preparing them for the journey inside Tibet. Entering Tibet and traveling on the road stirred many memories for Lama Tenzin of his exit from his homeland due to political unrest. He recalled, early one morning in the spring of 1959, before sunrise, I began what would be a 1-month journey out of my homeland to foreign lands, many miles away. I thought a lot about leaving my family and how hard it might be. I loved Tibet very much, my culture, my country. It was painful to think of leaving everything behind. Perhaps my young age of 22 made me feel challenged and brave. Yet I had no idea where I would go. I guess I had a strong sense of determination and faith. I walked from sunrise to sunset every day. I ate what I could eat and slept where I could sleep. I never thought about turning back. There was one very high mountain pass that I had to cross that was difficult. The weather was cold and along part of the route very windy, but never did I fall ill or get injured. I got to the border at Sikkim, India. I spent my first night in a vihara, an inn. I did not eat much that first evening. I stayed alone and contemplated what I had done. I slept outside of Tibet for the first time in my life. I did not know then it would be nearly 40 years before I would return to Tibet again. The Friendship Highway is a long ribbon of road passing over the Tibetan Plateau. Even with its many improvements, it continues to be very difficult and at times even treacherous. There are no guardrails over the high mountain passes that drop off into steep ravines. The glaciers are carved out to allow for passage. It is common for passengers to deboard and walk over the more difficult areas. At any time, the glacier walls can collapse, crushing all in its path. The journey of 520 miles from Zangmu to Lhasa takes Paul and Lama 4 days, allowing Lama Tenzin an additional day to hopefully see his family in Shigatse. Most travelers make this journey in 3 days, spending the nights in hotels and guest houses in Zangmu, Nyalam, and Shigatse. Paul and Lama decided to travel from Zangmu to Tingri West, where the view of the great Himalayan peaks, Everest, Lhotse, and Makalu, are visible. Travelers along the way willingly come to the aid of one another to assist with safe passage in this seemingly desolate land. A welcome reminder of the overall generosity of the Tibetan people. Altitude sickness is a serious concern. Travel by vehicle over the high mountain passes allows little time for Paul and Lama to acclimate. Paul Horn and Lama Tenzin safely pass over 2 very high summits before reaching their destination for the day, Tingri West. Here, Paul and Lama would spend the night at approximately 14,000 feet. They would travel the next day to Shigatse, but not before crossing a 17,125-foot pass. For now, the journey to Tingri West continues.
He's going home.
The breathtaking panorama of the Himalayan mountains, magnificent. Mount Everest and other peaks tower like great temples in the distance. Marking the summit at Lakpala Pass, brightly colored prayer flags blow in the wind, sending prayers flying to the universe. The Tibetan yak are the primary beasts of burden on the Tibetan plateau. They're revered by their owners, who decorate them with plumes and brass bells. The dwellings of the villagers are continuously maintained to protect them from the harsh weather. The interiors are practical and comfortable. Brightly painted walls and furnishings and painted decorations. There are private altars and holy pictures which demonstrate the Tibetans' devotion to Buddhism. At school, the children recite their grammar poem. Watching the school children study their Tibetan language was inspirational. This principal waterway is known as the Brahmaputra River in India. These bricks are made of pure incense. Horse-driven carts travel along the same highway with the cars, vans, and trucks. The old and the new are always intertwined. Shigatse is the second largest city in Tibet. Its population is over 50,000 people and has an elevation of 12,800 feet. Markets line the street where they sell food and spices, pots, pans, tokens of Tibet, and memorabilia for the tourists. Tashi Lumbo Monastery was built in 1447, one of the largest monasteries in Tibet. It is famous because it was founded by the first Dalai Lama, Gedung Drupa. Lama Tenzin's long-awaited dream of seeing his family and visiting his home is realized. There are 2 sisters and a brother. There are cousins. One sister is meeting him for the first time. Lama Tenzin's 2 dreams merge in a magical way. He is able to visit his family and tour the Tashi Lumbo Monastery. It was his home and place of religious training from age 6 until he left Tibet. He has long contemplated his return, traveling halfway around the world, unsure that these dreams could be realized. And for a brief time, they are. The joy from this reunion is clearly visible on his face. Stationary prayer wheels beckon the devotees as they circumambulate the monastery in prayer and homage. The young initiates sit in the courtyard chanting and studying, just as Lama Tenzin had once done. It is time for Lama to go. The family met for one last time. Lama and his brothers shook hands, and then they left. A sentimental moment, knowing they might never see each other again. The sudden sight of this huge, brightly painted Buddha carved into the living rock means only one thing: Lhasa. Then a few miles later, high on a hill, the first glimpse of the Potala Palace. The name Potala is derived from the word Bodala, a Sanskrit word that means Buddha's mountain. Considered the heart and soul of Tibet, it is the largest city in Tibet with a population of over 300,000 people. The elevation is approximately 12,000 feet. The ancient and the new operate side by side. Mule-pulled carts, small markets, yarn shops, the Barkor Bazaar, compete with cars, buses, department stores, and stylish garment shops. In the heart of Lhasa is the most sacred temple in Tibet, the Jokhang Temple. The temple has undergone 8 enlargements since its historic beginning, dating from the 7th century AD. Pilgrims from all Buddhist sects come here each day from morning to late afternoon. The granite slabs in front of the temple are worn smooth from their acts of devotion. Here they pray with folded hands, which reach above the crown of their heads, touch their foreheads, neck, and their hearts, and then downward stretching to touch the stone, then bending knees, palms of hands sliding outward, extending the body, stretching out to full prostration, then sliding back and upward to the standing position, only to be repeated again and again. The temple courtyard inside is lined with hundreds of pungent-smelling yak butter lamps that brightly illuminate the prayers of the devout. Would Paul Horn be allowed to play his flute during a Buddhist ceremony in this cathedral of Buddhism? Once again, the unexpected happened. Paul joins them with his flute. Paul Horn later said, "We seem to be guided every step of the way on our journey." In a courtyard at the Jokhang, young monks practice the ancient Buddhist art of debate. High atop the Jokang, the golden deer symbolizes gentleness and peace. The Dharma chakra represents the wheel of the law, the eightfold path to liberation in Buddhist teaching. In the distance, the Potala Palace is visible. Near the front entrance of the temple, a juniper hearth burns, its smoke rising as a sacred offering and blessing. The Barkor outside the Jokang temple is the center of Tibetan activity in Lhasa. This bazaar is a marketplace where Buddhist pilgrims come to buy from all the different regions in Tibet. Here they're seen wearing their traditional dress, walking the sacred path in a clockwise direction around the Jokang, holding their prayer wheels and beads in hand, reciting their ancient mantras. The Potala Palace. This formidable structure is one of the architectural wonders of the world. Built in the 17th century, the Potala was the symbol of Tibetan government and the winter home of the Dalai Lamas. Paul Horn was to be the first foreigner ever to play music inside the Potala. Many people have requested, but he had been chosen. One of the monks at the Potala had heard him play at a ceremony. "Your music sounds spiritual," he told him, and the door was opened. Paul played in the Grand Assembly Hall. This is the largest and most magnificent hall in the Potala, the place where the Dalai Lamas once received the state oracles in the main prayer hall. A visit to Norbalinka, the summer palace of the Dalai Lamas, provided another gift, where a group of workers were repairing the roof by tamping moistened clay onto the surface and were incorporating their folk dances and singing to their work. Inside the summer palace are many personal belongings of the present Dalai Lama, left behind in 1959. It is exactly the way he left it. There is a sense of time suspended. Samye is the final excursion for Paul and Lama Tenzin in Tibet. The Samye Monastery is the first Buddhist monastery built in Tibet and founded in 779 AD. As they enter the main temple, they are overwhelmed by the power of sounds resonating from the main ceremonial hall. Torches are held to illuminate the painted murals on the wall, which tell the story of the creation of Samye. These depictions, some of them painted during the most ancient beginnings of the monastery, show the original design of the temple as it existed in the 8th century. In a farewell tribute to the success of their trip, Lama Tenzin prays and Paul Horn plays his flute in deep gratitude that their dreams are fulfilled. Tibet's beauty extends from the majestic Himalayan mountains to the inner spirit of its people. A gentle shadow casts over the land, symbolizing the quiet nature of the people and the strength they receive from the roof of the world. It is an inner strength that has been internalized over the ages. Tibet's spirit is alive and is a mantra that soars ever higher. The mantra of the prayer flags that yield to the wind, which carries the prayers to heal the past, clarify the present, and bring promise to the future. The mantra of the hard, simple lifestyle of its people, a model to the world for overcoming obstacles. The mantras of the ceremonies are a living poetry of blowing horns, pounding drums, cymbals, bells, and chants. To be in their presence quiets and centers the being, creates mindfulness within the human spirit. Compassion, love, wisdom. These are the conceptions to obtain inner peace. Tibetans possess these conceptions which allow them to cope in their harsh, beautiful land. For centuries, Tibet has intrigued the Western world. This spiritual land of the snows echoes with prayer. May truth of all religions prevail and spread throughout the universe. May beings separate from all harmful acts and realize happiness in a single instant. May compassion and wisdom unite in the minds of all beings. May all realms of misery be forever empty. Their eyes tell a story much different than our own. It is a story of a people who cling to their rich culture and heritage. Paul Horn and Lama Tenzin's dreams are fulfilled beyond all expectations. Paul Horn is the first foreigner ever to record his music within the Potala Palace. He said, "I felt good with the music. It was improvised wherever I played. It came from the Tibetan spirit that surrounded me." Lama Tenzin's prayers came true. He said, "I was able to reminisce about my parents, village, and simply stand on the land that I cherish." Paul Horn and Lama Tenzin are grateful to all the people along the way for their compassion and generosity which made the journey possible.
Okay, now you guys, this is a documentary.
Many times.
we just arrived in Kathmandu. Our plan has been from the start to go to Mount Kailash in Tibet, a sacred mountain in the far reaches of western Tibet. However, we received news just now that the Chinese have closed the borders and are sending troops to that area because there's a planned demonstration to free Tibet in that area. So it's an obstacle. We'll see how it works out. Obviously, right now, we don't know. But the plan for me at the moment is to enjoy Kathmandu. Kathmandu is different this time. The spirituality remains prominent in the city, but this is a time of political turmoil. There is talk of the fall of Nepal as we know it. In the temples and throughout the area are objects of prayer and spiritual life. The yak butter candles are lit and the prayer wheels are spun. Even with the current chaos in the city, I was fascinated with the spiritual devotion and overall friendliness of the people. This is a melting pot of Buddhism and Hinduism. Being in this land reminds me of how much I love it here. Even with everything going on politically, it's quite thrilling. I am intrigued by the resilience of the people and the cultural traditions. Cremations take place on the riverbank of the Bagmati River. Here, at this ancient site, only the Orthodox Hindus are cremated. Little did we know at the time the horrible fate that was to befall the royal family and their assassination, which would all too soon bring them to this place. This part of the world makes no pretense of life and death, and the rituals anchor them as fundamental events in the culture. At the end of the day, I found myself thinking about Tibet and the news that Kailash was closed. There were so many unanswered questions, yet my heart was telling me to go anyway. So I surrendered. After all, I can't control the fate of our journey. It was a comforting thought. We drove back to the hotel to prepare for our departure the next morning to Lhasa, Tibet. Well, the memories keep flooding back. I never thought that I'd have a chance to come to Tibet and to Lhasa even one time in my life, and here's the second. I have an opportunity to return 3 years later. I'm on top of the Jokang temple, which is the holiest spot for the Buddhists here in Tibet. The intention of this trip was for all of us to go to Mount Kailash. And when we arrived in Kathmandu, our travel agent greeted us with the news that it was closed and no foreigners could get there. And it was a great disappointment to all of us, thinking that we were never going to go to Mount Kailash. As soon as we arrived at the hotel, our guide here said, guess what? It's opened up and you can go to Mount Kailash. So to me, they're spiritual lessons. In this part of the world, India and Tibet, all these countries over here, you can't plan. And if you're not open to the moment and you're fixed on ideas, you're going to be in deep trouble because you're going to be disappointed. Things move at a different pace here, a different sense of time, and things happen from moment to moment. And so you can't plan too far ahead. But the thing is to show up. That's the main thing. And be open to the moment, and all kinds of wonderful things can happen. I think either you have a feeling to be drawn to this part of the world or it doesn't appeal to you at all. I don't think there's any in between. It's a very, very different culture, but that's what I love. Returning to Lhasa reminds me of my first trip to Tibet 3 years ago, when I was able to play my flutes and record in the Potala Palace. In 1998, I traveled with Lama Tenzin, a Buddhist monk who walked out of Tibet 43 years ago due to religious persecution. We had two goals. Lama wanted to visit his family, and I wanted to record my flutes in the Potala Palace. As we entered Tibet by walking across the Friendship Bridge, we were very conscious of the potential danger, both political and natural. Tibetan refugees in Kathmandu warned us of the danger and emphasized that we must be cautious. They advised Lama Tenzin to wear Western clothes and not to speak Tibetan in public. We were not to mention our plans to film a documentary. Several weeks prior to us entering Tibet, a Tibetan was arrested and sentenced to 18 years in prison for videotaping a group of local folk dancers. We were very cautious not to comment on political issues because of the grave consequences for ourselves, Lama, his family, and our Tibetan guides. We knew that we were being watched almost constantly by the Chinese. Lama Tenzin was able to meet his family at the Tashalumpo Monastery in Shagatsi, where he studied Buddhism from age 6 to 22. The reunion was wonderful and quite touching. I was welcomed by the Buddhist monks to play my flutes in several sacred temples and monasteries, including the Jokan Temple, Samye Monastery, which was the first Buddhist monastery in Tibet, and the Potala Palace.
We're leaving today. We're going to Kailash.
Yeah.
You think we'll be able to walk around?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
You think I'm too old for that?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No problem.
Is it strong enough?
Strong.
I hope so. Yeah. We're lucky that that opened, huh? I mean,
it's
all of
lucky,
it was
yes.
closed, and all of a sudden Kailash opened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chinese government said okay. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, Tashi delay.
Just delay.
Dash it delay. Dash it delay. You're on.
This is the first day on the very bumpy dirt road to Kailash, and we're sharing our journey with carts, tractors, animals, and the greetings from the children. There's concern, though, since we've been told Kailash has had cloudy weather, and a storm would make the trek so dangerous we wouldn't be able to continue. And still we go on.
Hello.
50 to 75 Chinese military trucks pass us, going the opposite direction. They are returning from Kailash. We are struck by the moment-to-moment challenges and our good fortune. Kailash has opened to us. The greatest challenge seems to be just getting there. We have to travel for 5 days, for 8 to 10 hours each day, and we camp in tents each night. The town of Saga lies on the southern route and is the largest town we will see until we return from Kailash. There's an unexpected overnight here because our supply truck became stuck. Our lodging is in a Tibetan-style dormitory with 6 wooden bunks to a room and heavy woolen blankets. The nomads on their horses and the herds of yaks certainly seem to fit with the rhythm of life out here.
petrol problem. Some petrol problem.
Petrol?
Yeah. Ready to go!
Each day there are new reminders that we are driving through one of the most isolated areas in the world. We get out to stretch. I look around. I see how beautiful the sky is, a different color than I've seen before. There's no pollution. It's clean and fresh air. Well, we're on our way to Kailash, Mount Kailash. We've been on the road for, it's our fourth day, and we have one more to go. Altogether, it's about 1,000 miles we've gone over when we finally get there. These very rough roads. So the journey itself is an experience, I think, as much as our final destination, which is Mount Kailash. Tom and I were talking about this in the car earlier today. It's like a metaphor for life, that you have a goal or a final destination, but if you focus too much on it, you miss what's happening along the way. And what's happening along the way for me, and what I had in my mind before leaving home, what I kept envisioning was, I can hear the silence. I can hear the wind, feel the wind. Just being away from everything, and I find the chatter in my mind each day is getting less and less and less and less. And to me, that's a very valuable experience, and one that I was looking forward to. And as you can see, the vista behind me, this is what I'm talking about. Just open space. It's very still. I personally need that in my life. And I realized that for a long time. I've practiced meditation for, well, over 30 years now. It's a daily thing. It's no big deal. It's not an intellectual thing, but it's that quietness and that silence that I experience in my daily meditations that's of great value to me. And when I can also physically experience it as I am now, that's really a special experience for me. The next day, as we are going further west, we see the snow-capped Annapurna mountain range in the Himalayas. Wherever we stop for the night, the friendly nomads come to visit. So I decide to play the flute for them. It's no easy task at 15,000 feet. Twice a day, the women of the nomadic tribes whistle to the goats and gather them into these oval rings where they will be milked. The women and children keep track of the sheep and goats. The men, and sometimes the women, they care for the yaks. People have to work together to survive in this land. That includes us. We camp out each night and travel each day, much like our nomadic friends. It's a challenge. Sagadawa is a major festival where a tall Tarbache flagpole is re-erected on the full moon day of the 4th Tibetan month, usually falling in May or June on our calendar. The flagpole is redecorated with prayer flags and raised to celebrate the enlightenment of Buddha. Several hundred Tibetan pilgrims attend the festival. The goal is to raise the flagpole to a vertical position, which is most auspicious in bringing in good fortune for the upcoming year. Once again, it takes teamwork to pull this off, and even the bystanders are left holding their breath, hoping and praying for the best.
See you later.
The nomadic yak herdsman brought the yaks in the night before we were to leave. The yaks carry the cooking and camping gear for our group. They are amazingly suited to the high elevation and extreme weather. The Kora is a 32-mile trail which circles around the holy mountain that is believed by the pilgrims to be the center of the universe. It is considered one of the most important pilgrimages in Asia. It is believed that performing a Kora around Mount Kailash carries a possibility of releasing the devotee from the sins for at least one lifetime. The yaks, their herdsmen and dogs all become part of the procession. We finally get to Mount Kailash, and all along I don't think that I'm really going to be walking around this mountain because I'm the oldest one in the group by 10 years, and many of the people are 20 and 30 years younger than I am. I have to make a decision. Either I'm going to go on, or I can turn back to the camp. First of all, if I go back, no one else is going back. So I'm going to be by myself, sleeping in a tent, and who's going to be there? It didn't appeal to me. So the next day I said, what the heck?
Well, that was a challenge, man. And to look up at Kailash and Asango and to sleep under that tonight. Anything worthwhile doesn't come easy. This didn't come easy, but it sure is worthwhile.
It'll take 3 days to trek around Kailash. We camp out every night. The monasteries along the Kailash Corridor all sustained damage during the Cultural Revolution. The devout pilgrims show their reverence in prostrating. There's an orderly rhythmic motion in each prostration, repeating the motion over and over again in sublime reverence to the great mandala of Mount Kailash. It's quite cold and windy. Our group consists of 10 people. We sleep 2 to a tent.
Well, we spent the night here at 16,000 feet. The journey is rough, but the rewards are there. And today we're going to go over a 19,000 foot pass. We're all getting pretty acclimated. The headaches for the most part are gone. Breathing is more quote normal. And it's amazing. But we've been up about a week or more at 15,000 feet and above. So our bodies are getting used to it as best they can. Nancy, Vendetti, and I are going to ride a yak today. Because of the 3-day circumambulation, this being the second one, this is the roughest one.
Very steep. The Lachu River flows down the valley. We go east, crossing the river, and then climb the trail up the Dromalachu Valley, where I begin my yak ride, which eventually takes me to the Dromala Pass.
Aloha.
How's the ride, Paul?
Well, it beats walking, but it's hard on the you-know-what. There's no saddle.
But it's a great experience. How many people ride a yak? We make our way up the 2,600-foot incline toward the Dromala Pass, our destination. We continue to climb to 17,482 feet to a place called Shivasal. The pilgrims symbolically leave their old life behind in an offering of clothes, a drop of blood, a lock of hair, or other objects. The final ascent to the Dromala Pass is incredibly steep and snow-covered. The group reaches the top, and again a feeling of great accomplishment. The whole thing is like a dream. We took time to honor Mount Kailash and a dear friend. A powerfully emotional moment that deeply touched us. The group begins the 1,300-foot descent. Below is a beautiful circular frozen Guri-Kund lake, the Lake of Compassion. Purbu, our young Tibetan guide, walked with me, constantly watching and providing assistance by taking my arm when the trail gets too rugged. He is a very considerate person, very typical of the Tibetan people. Once again I ride a yak, this time through the Lam Chu Valley to our camp, where we will spend the night. Camp is set up along the Zangchu River. In the morning, a skiff of snow has formed an icy crust over the tents. This is our final day of the Kora, and once again, Purbu is at my side. As I continue to walk, my mind is quiet, and I experience the physical challenges which are great enough that I'm not thinking of a lot of other things. There is a deeper meaning than just the trip or this moment. Mani stones are carved with prayers as an act of merit and placed in long walls. Om Mani Padme Hum is the most popular of the sacred mantras, a prayer for compassion. One of the most fascinating ways the pilgrims show their devotion is by prostrating. This woman was on her 16th day circling the mountain.
Yes. We are at the end.
Yaks are here with a big back.
I make it through the third day to the end of the trek. I have a great feeling of elation and accomplishment. It really feels good. Lake Manasarovar is one of Tibet's most sacred lakes. It is the largest body of water at the highest altitude in the world, approximately 16,000 feet. It is like a spiritual partner to Mount Kailash. We spent the night at this beautiful spot where I'm standing now. We're one day into our return from Mount Kailash to Kathmandu. We have to be at the border in 2 more days. That's when our visa runs out. And I'm really back in time. You hear that stillness? I mean, it's silence. It's but it's filled with potential. It's natural. There's no phoniness out here. This is a hard life, but it's an honest life. There's a few dwellings that you can see. These people live, again, a hard life, but it's a peaceful life. They know what to do when they get up in the morning, and they're in an environment, in an area that, whether they intellectualize it or not, and I doubt that they do, they are one with nature. The animals, the struggle for daily existence. And for me, it just brings home the point once more, but very, very vividly this time, and probably the strongest that it's ever been, that we, as human beings, part of the animal kingdom, have come so far away
from what is natural. And we call this progress.
We begin the long drive to the ferry crossing at Yarlung Tsangpo. Waiting in line for the ferry crossing takes several hours, but it saved an extra day of travel. Cables pull the ferry smoothly across the river to the other side, where we carefully disembark and resume our bumpy ride on the dirt roads. The Tongla Pass at 16,000 feet is festooned with prayer flags and brought back memories of our last trip to Tibet 3 years ago. Crossing the pass means we're on our way to Nepal. The Himalayan mountain range is glorious. I'm ready. It's been a great trip, but I'm ready to cross the border.
All right, here we go.
We make it to the Friendship Bridge, and with an unconscious sigh of relief, we cross from China to Nepal, ending our journey. Standing like a great monument in the sky, Mount Kailash is a reminder to the world of the importance of spirituality for complete balance to one's life. Mount Kailash's energy radiates over the land with prayers, songs, and chants, keeping a mantra of humanity alive in this land. The Tibetans have a rich and beautiful culture that is threatened by imposing belief systems, technology, and government. Similar to native populations around the world, the Tibetans are holding on to their culture and their way of life. Look at these faces. There's a radiance there that reflects dignity. I see simplicity in living, an inner joy, an acceptance of hardship, and a close bond with each other. I hope that the Tibetan people will be able to continue to live their lives according to their beliefs and traditions that have sustained them through so many centuries. The rest of the world needs to respect that. I'm very grateful for having had the opportunity to get a personal glimpse into this ancient and beautiful culture.
I really liked working with Paul Horn and Christopher Hedge on this project. They created the soundtrack for the film. I think it's really unique in that they used the sounds recorded live on location and then composed a trance-like montage of beautiful music. It really worked well with the images that I was able to capture in Tibet, and it brought the film to life.
Backwards bells here. A point that Paul makes in the film a lot, which is that you have to be prepared to not be prepared. In other words, you have to be there and react, do what you need to do, and not worry about it, not stress about it, because there was multiple ways we could do the recording. And so as it ended up at night, Paul was practicing or playing in the nunnery in front of this big golden Buddha. And I was wearing binaural microphones, which fit inside my ears and then actually used the shape of my ears, my head, and body as part of the microphone. And so it records in a very three-dimensional sort of way. It's very natural. And so Paul is playing, and I'm standing there being the microphone and facing him, and he's playing towards me. And so if I turn my head or if I turn my body, you hear the sound moving back and forth. And it's not that it's just moving from left to right, but the way that it's reverberating in this big room is also shifting and moving because it's filtering through these microphones and into the recording.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you get a sound that's very realistic.
The normal canvas for music is based on notes, and it's based on arrangement. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to use the reality of sounds and experiences as the notes and as the music. It's a different kind of painting. You know, it's painting a soundscape rather than a musical composition.
But that's why music and art and anything that's a little more abstract, you don't have to try to verbalize and explain and describe the experience. A painting can picture what this person is putting on canvas from their own experience, and the same with music. The music is coming out based upon this experience, and that's what we've been sharing with you.
If you're taking pieces from these experiences, and each one is that, they're all significant. Each moment that you're recording is significant. The things that you're recording, the chanting, is not a sound effect. That's a real deal. That's a spiritual language. It's very important, and it's ancient.
And it's taken from their actual morning service at the nunnery.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're abstracting on that. It's interesting to pull that into the studio and to pull it out of its environment and then start to listen to it, not for what it is, but for just how it sounds and the rhythms that it makes, and to begin to abstract on those little pieces and to let them create themselves. They sort of make an order to it. And you still have to be sensitive to the elements that you're using, these sound bites and these pieces. If you stay out of the way of what they are, you're not manipulating them in an intellectual way. You're responding to what they are, and they're causing themselves to create music on their own by just staying out of its way.
To me, when people ask, well, what about the culture shock? Of course, that question, when they're asking me here, refers to how did I feel with the culture shock over there? And I say, yeah, but the culture shock was coming back into my own culture. That sort of blows their mind. But it's true, because it's, I didn't feel, sure, it's different physically and every other way and spiritually. So it's a change coming back to your own home. In this building, they provided a room for me to play in. We were given unlimited time. I think we were here for about 5 hours. And I had a chance to record on my various flutes, alto flute, C flute, little Chinese flute called a dizi. And we were happy with that. But somehow we were hoping that the room that I would get to play in would be a little more in the center of this place. This was sort of like a room that seemed to us to be a party room. And it was cigarette smoke smell in there, ashtrays. It was a place for the people that are here now, and which are not many, and they're not monks. Would have a little rest and relaxation, a little partying. But look, we said we got a chance to play and record in the Patala Palace, and we're thankful for that. Well, the next day we came back on a tour of the place, which we did not have time to do the previous day. And on this tour, we came to this wonderful big room called the Grand Assembly Hall. And my sound man, Bruce McBain, said, I'd give anything to record in here. This is the place. And there was a beautiful acoustic in there, a big open building, very spiritual feeling. And in the past, the Dalai Lamas had held their annual get-together with the oracle who would predict the events coming up for the coming year. Also, foreign dignitaries would visit the Dalai Lama in this room, so it had a history and a special feel to it. Our guide asked the young monk who was guarding this particular area if this gentleman over here, me, could play the flute in there, and he said, definitely not. This is totally forbidden. You can't do that. You can take a camera and take some photos, which Tom got permission to do, and the camera was set up, but the instruments, no. And so we kept talking to him, and he kept saying, absolutely not. And sort of miraculously, another monk appeared in that room from a monastery close by, called the Sarah Monastery. We had visited that the day before. And this monk had been one who agreed to sing along with some other monks to do some chanting, and I played along with them on the flute. He somehow showed up in this room. And he recognized me, and he went over to this young monk, and he said, that's okay, his music is spiritual. So I guess the young monk started to think differently now. Said, okay. He says, everyone goes to lunch at 1 o'clock. It's quiet here, the tourism is over, people are not going to be walking through here, but you have a half an hour, and that's it. Lunchtime is over, and it's strictly forbidden. So he was nervous about agreeing to this in the first place, but we were ecstatic. And he said, by the way, don't take your flutes out now, just leave them in the case there, which I did under my coat on the floor. Well, maybe about 5 minutes before lunchtime, some officials walked in. And one of them was the head Chinese official for this whole building here. And everyone got very nervous, and he was conducting a personal tour of some dignitaries from Japan. And this was the room he was showing them. Well, we were all standing around there, and he sort of was sensing that something is not right. Couldn't quite put his finger on it. And looking around at us, and we sort of got a little nervous, a little edgy. That we were being scrutinized like that, but we just sort of looked around, playing innocent. And then he sort of went, well, what the heck? And the bell rang, and it was lunchtime, so everyone split, and they went out this door at the other end of the assembly hall here. At that time, he said, okay, get your flutes out. Bruce was all set up. Tom was all set up to go. And I started playing. Just improvising. And time went by. I used the various flutes once again. The echo was wonderful in there, the sound. The lighting was just right. There was a beautiful St. John's light that was coming from the window above, sort of like a spotlight almost on me. And it was quite magical and very quiet. There were no people walking in and out. The monk kept looking at his watch, and he kept saying, okay, you got 15 minutes. Okay, you got 10 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. And I was ready to pack up, and Bruce said, the sound of the alto flute is so beautiful in here, let's do one more. And I thought to myself, well, I'm never going to come back here again, although here I am today. But the thought was that I'm not going to be able to ever return here and do this again. So I started, okay. And the monk said, he was getting real nervous that it was getting so close. Maybe I had 3 minutes left. So I started playing, and then about, I would say, a minute into this free improvisation, a little voice in my head said, Paul, you better stop right now. Enough is enough. Don't push it. So I stopped playing, and at probably within 5 seconds, the door opened with a bang at the far end of this hall, and the Chinese official with the dignitaries came through this room. I put the flute down immediately on the floor, covered it with my coat, and they just walked right by us, went out the other end of the room, and that was it.